about a few things that you can do to make sure your Google Classroom courses are secure. You'll need to change settings for each individual course. So go ahead and click on a course. Once inside the course, if you go all the way over to the top right, you'll see a gear. Click there. That will take you to your class settings. The second section, if you scroll down, is labeled General. Let's talk about a couple of things in this section. First, let's talk about invite codes. You might find yourself in a situation where a student has received your class code that should not have it, or you've had to remove a student from your class due to a discipline issue. In the event that one of those things happen, you might want to either disable codes or generate a new code. So you can go right here where it says Manage Invite Codes. You'll see that it's on Enabled. If you click on that drop-down arrow, you can either disable codes or reset. In the event that you might need other students to join, you can simply click right here on Reset, and you'll see your old code go away and a new code will be displayed. No students will then be able to join with that old code, only this new code that has been displayed. Now, if all of your students have already joined your class and there's no one else to join, as a best practice, I would suggest going in here to Settings and clicking on Disable. Once you've disabled invite codes, no one will be able to join this class with a code. You might find that later on in the school year, a new student enrolls and you need to add them to your classroom. If that happens, you can come back here to Settings, go to Invite Codes, and click on that drop-down menu again and enable codes. That will generate a new class code for you that you can give to your new student. As a best practice, I would ask you to go back here and click on Disable Invite Codes again once that new student has joined. Now, secondly, let's talk about Google Meet. Google has made this an option for you to use in Google Classroom, and it's very convenient for teachers, but it could pose some issues for you as well. So let's talk about a couple of things you can do to make sure students are not in Google Meets through your classroom without you being there to monitor. One thing you can do when you go down here to Meet, you can click on the Google Meet link and you can reset that link. So if you've copied that link and posted it for students somewhere and you no longer want them to be able to use that, you can simply click right here on Reset and that old Meet link will no longer work. Now the big piece is right here where it says Visible to Students. If you have that toggled on, which means the circle is on the right and it's in color, students can see your Meet link from their class. Let me show you what that looks like. You'll notice here, this is an example of a student account. When I click right here on classwork, I do not have the option to join a Google Meet. I'm going to turn that on from the teacher side and show you what that looks like. Okay, now I just enabled the Meet link from the teacher account. So if I refresh my screen here, you'll now see that there's a Meet link. So this is an example of a student account where the student can go to classwork and join a Meet. You'll notice when I click on there, I can join the Meet even if the teacher is not there. So to keep this from happening, let's go back to our teacher account. What you can do is toggle Visible to Students to the off position. To do that, just click right there and you'll see the circle go to the left and you'll notice it's in gray. That means that the Meet link is not visible to students. Let me show you what that looks like on the teacher end. You'll know that your Meet link is not visible to students when you're on your Stream tab and in the top bar right here, you see your Meet link and you'll see an eye with a line through it. That means that the Google Meet link is not visible to students. As a best practice, I would suggest making sure that you always toggle your Meet link to off. Make sure the visibility is turned off. That way students can't join your Meet. So what you can do is post a comment in the stream that you'll have a Google Meet lesson at, say, 2 o'clock today, and you leave this off so students can't access it until right before the meeting, and then you toggle it on. Then your students can join your Google Meet. Now, here are a couple of other things to note. You'll need to make sure that you're joining the meet a little bit early to make sure as soon as you turn the visibility on, go ahead and join that meet so that you can be there to monitor what goes on as students are joining. And then once you've taught your lesson and you're ready to close out the meet, you'll need to ask all students to leave the meeting, because if you go ahead and X out, any students left in that Google Meet can continue to talk and do so without being monitored. So you'll want to make sure that you're asking all students to leave the meet, ensure that all students are out of your meet, and then wait about 30 seconds before you log out. The reason I ask that you do this is because there's about a 15 to 20 second lag where students could potentially go back and rejoin your meet. So if you give it about 30 seconds before you X out, you'll ensure that no one else can go back in that meet unattended. And then once you've closed that meet out, as a best practice, I would come back in here to the settings, click on where it says visible to students, and toggle that to the off position, which means that the circle goes to the left and it's grayed out. Now students will no longer be able to access that meeting. I hope that helps and gives you a couple of things that you can do to ensure that your Google Classroom classes are secure.